Well, happy Monday to you. How you doing? It's December 30th. We're still in 2024, yet we get to talk about 2025 because it's coming pretty darn fast. We're going to talk about the state of Louisiana. What have they done? Oh, Lordy. I was just in Shreveport about a month ago, losing very quickly in a poker tournament. But nice people in Louisiana. I always have a good time when I'm there, and I have to do this for someone in Louisiana. And of course, we're all wondering what on earth is going on. There are prime directives being issued. Oh, crazy things have happened in Louisiana. Declaration of emergency, everybody. It's a payroll emergency down in Creole country. No, in Cajun, whatever. All right, let's laugh, but also talk about tax. Um, how do you do Louisiana withholding tax now? It's supposed to be easier. That's why whenever you declare an emergency of payroll tax, we're going to make things easy. I'll cut to the chase and tell you that they've provided some information, almost everything you'd think you'd need to calculate tax for 2025. Yet I think they've left something out, and we'll discuss that toward the end of the video. But we'll talk about how to formulate Louisiana tax for 2025, assuming this declaration of emergency is correct and that this form does not get updated. Uh, we'll see. All right, right. Signed a couple weeks ago. And it does have a pretty good formula in here, but we'll talk about something that I think is missing. Now, let's show you what's going on in the payroll file. So it's Louisiana time. Louisiana says, we're waiting for information because we didn't have an actual booklet from Louisiana. We just had that declaration of emergency. Well, we're now going to be effective 1/1/25, and we're going to show you how we're going to do the formula. So we're going to be updating, and we are going to show you how to update. So essentially, in Louisiana, you're going to fill out the form L4, which is this right here. It's just going to ask you a few simple questions. Here, I like this. This is just, hey, are you going to be able to claim yourself 0 or 1? 0 or 1, how many dependents? As many dependents are going to go in box B. So it's a pretty easy one, and you're just going to fill this out, and you're going to choose, did you fill 0 or 1 in the first box, and how many dependents do you have right here in this column? Pretty easy. Then you're going to choose your status of Louisiana single or Louisiana married. Those are the two Louisianas that we have to choose from here. Okay. Not a big deal, right? Well, I'll say that in the past, in years past, this is what all the formulas looked like to do Louisiana. There were 6 or 7 columns there. That's a lot for a state. That's difficult. Why was it so difficult? Well, they had a phase out of the deduction that they used to have, and then I think they also had rates. They don't have that anymore, according to this emergency declaration. They have made it simple, and they've said we have a flat tax down here in Louisiana of 3.09% or 0.0309, which is shown, right here. So the flat tax applies to your taxable wages, which are going to be your gross wages that could be taxable, minus your standard deduction, which is 12,500 if you are single or married filing separately, and 25,000 if you are married, joint, qualified surviving spouse, head of household, and such. So they supposedly have made it very easy. So that means that we can essentially write this formula in 1 or 2 columns at the most. And I'll break it up into 2 columns to make it a little more visual. But we need to fill out the Louisiana tax withheld column right here. Well, it's going to be pretty darn easy. But we had all this other stuff, which we're going to get rid of. We're actually going to delete it. We don't even need this anymore. All this old phase out stuff, gone. So we've gotten a lot shrinkier when it comes to areas we need to work with when it comes to Louisiana. What do we need to do? We need to talk about the standard deduction. How do we know which standard deduction to apply? Well, if the status, which is going to be hidden in here, I think it's cell K4. We'll take a look in a second. If that equals Louisiana single, then this thing is 12,500. Otherwise, it's going to be 25,000. And we're going to then open up the column to find out if I chose the right column that has our status. Status is going to be right here. It's not, it's cell T4, not cell K4. So we're going to fix that. Get back to Louisiana right here. And it's actually T4. So now we know whether or not we have the correct standard deduction being applied or not. Supposedly, all we need to do is we need to take our federal taxable wages, our annualized federal taxable wages, which appear in a few different places. We're going to go to this source right here. Annual taxable wages here, times 0.0309 divided by the number of pay periods that we have in the year. And this is going to be the only thing we need to do. We didn't type the word pay periods right. This is a named range is what the word pay periods is. Pay periods is a place where I have saved the number of pay periods in the year. It's in the matrix right here. This is where we have our pay periods. It's this right here is the pay period cell. So it knows that we're working with a biweekly schedule in the file right now. So that I believe did it. And now I think we're good. And we have the amount of Louisiana state tax withheld is now correct. It's that easy of a formula, everybody. It's the gross wages divided by the number of pay periods times 0.0309%. And wait a minute, I'm sorry. It's annualized wages minus the standard deduction. Whoops, did you realize I screwed up? It's the annualized wages minus the standard deduction, everybody. That's right. Now it's correct. Now you're going to get a negative number here. That's not okay. It is assuming if you had no wages that and the standard deduction that you'd owe negative tax. We can't have that, so that's not going to work. So what do we do here? Well, the answer is there's a couple things you can do, but you could say if this whole thing which is this entire operation we just had, if that is less than or equal to 0, then make it 0. Otherwise, we'll put that entire operation and calculate it. And I believe that works. Should make them all zeros now below. Yep. And you have a winner. And now that is a correct and functional formula for Louisiana tax for 2025. So if you're doing it yourself, this is how you do it when you know what your annualized wages are, when you know what your pay period is, and when you know what your standard deduction is by status. And apparently it's just 3.09%. Apparently Louisiana has made it easier on us, except for the thing I said at the beginning of the video, and let me explain why. Well, if you stuck it out this long, you'll see what I'm talking about. So you're supposed to fill out a Louisiana W-4, right? L4? Okay, well, you chose some dependents and allowances. Well, wait a minute. Are we using this information at all? I thought we were using this information. I thought this meant something to us. I thought we were supposed to fill this out. Why? Oh, yeah, that's because years ago, there was an amount that each dependent was able to be deducted. It was like $4,500 a dependent. Are we still doing that? Oh, did Louisiana forget to mention that in their emergency declaration when they did their formula here? Or are we just not paying attention to the L4 anymore? Is this pointless? I don't know the answer to that, everybody. I'm just the guy that does everything before anyone else does it and has to figure out the answer to these questions. So I don't know. If you live in Louisiana, I would say, hey, are we using this information on the L4 anymore in our withholding, or are we not? Like employees' salary per pay period. Are we deducting? Are we doing that? I I don't see anything about the L4 other than at the top it says that this is for use with the L4, right? It says up here, emergency rule. Okay, with the use information obtained from the R1300 L4, which is the L4 we were looking at, doesn't say anything about dependents anywhere, right? Nowhere. Doesn't say anything about this information. So I'm assuming we are not using it anymore if this emergency declaration is fully accurate, but you never really know. All I can tell you is that historically, states are bad at getting out good, full, encompassing instructions about what to do, especially when their nose is to the grindstone and it says declaration of emergency on it and it was done a week before Christmas. I mean, come on. So we'll find out if the L4 is actually being used at a later date, and maybe I'll do an update. But my assumption, and what I'm going with as I release this to those that are using it, is that there are no longer any dependent deductions that are going to come off your wages because they are not mentioned anymore in the formula for 2025. So that's as explicit as I could be about what has happened in Louisiana. And we're going to release at 3.09%. And if there are some dependent deductions, exemptions for dependents and stuff like that, that are reducing your wages, well, then this file will slightly over withhold a little bit because we're not going to be reducing the the annualized wages by that deduction. So it just means that um, basically you'd over withhold slightly because you could have saved a little bit more because you have some kids or whatever that are going to reduce your tax liability at the end of the year, something like that. So we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to go with 3.09%, and voila, there you go. So that's Louisiana. It's an emergency declaration. We are emergency finishing the payroll file. We've only got a few more states. I fixed Utah, by the way, was not up to date. I fixed that. That is also done. And I mean, we just got some Maryland to look at and Massachusetts to make sure it's out of draft. And then we'll fix overtime in Alabama with their weird overtime law. And then we'll look at Washington State. And then we are done, doubly done. All right. So if you want a copy of the 50 state payroll file, it's $100. It's in Excel only right now. I've not done Google Sheets yet, and I'm not committed to doing Google Sheets yet. We're doing all Excel because it's more powerful and it can fit more employees, and it doesn't require me to code everything in Google Sheets because this does not convert automatically into Google Sheets and work because of all the named ranges and connections and conditional formatting. It's just not the same thing. So anyway, for those that are asking about Google Sheets, not ready yet, and I'm not sure what I'm doing about that yet. All right, that's Louisiana. Enjoy your payroll. We're making it easy down here on the bayou. We're making it so.